Greetings, this is Brian Harris, the creator of the Independent Black Voters Speak and the owner of Black Book TV. We're here today to continue our series on Know Your Candidates. Do you know there are over 100 candidates running for judicial seats here in Nevada, in Clark County? Wow, that's a lot of people. We need to know who these candidates are. We need to vet the candidates. We need to ask them the questions as they pertain to the black community, so that we will have friends on the judicial system, so that we will have people that will listen, be fair, and be impartial as the rules of law are applied. You do that when you vote. You do that when you ask questions beforehand. You do that when you look at their records. You do that when you hold them accountable. So without further ado here, we have one of our second candidate here for our series coming in, Mr. Jacob Reynolds. How are you, Jacob?
Doing great.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
So tell the folks here, Jacob, what are you running for, and tell them a little bit about you.
Thank you very much, first, Brian, for giving me the opportunity to be on this channel. I am Jacob Reynolds. I am an attorney here in Las Vegas. I'm running for District Court, Department 21. So that's a civil criminal division here in Clark County, Nevada.
Okay, great. Tell us a little bit about your history. Tell us where you came from, who you are, what made you be the man you are today.
Good. I am, first of all, second to last of 11 children. Grew up in a big family. And ended up being a big guy as well. So grew up in Utah primarily, but also my father was a professor. So he taught all around the world. He taught in Boston, taught in Scotland, taught in Jerusalem for a while. And so I've lived in several different countries beyond that as well. And I feel that's given me a different perspective than a lot of other candidates have. Frankly, and something I've talked about with you, I can bring up now, I guess, is just when I was 7 years old, I was in primary school in Scotland, and we had to evacuate our school under bomb threat from the IRA, Irish Republican Army, and it was a scary instance, but that was part of life. And now, then I moved to Israel and had a lot of different experiences there where it was common to see people walking around the streets with fully automatic loaded rifles ready to go. Here we wouldn't appreciate that so much, but there was, people going on school trips, like a day trip with your school, just an elementary school. You were sometimes required to have a fully armed guard with you when you were traveling, and saw a lot of things there and was able to get a different perspective on life, I believe, and that I think is very helpful to my judicial temperament. Good.
It's important, like you say, if you have more life experiences other than I grew up with, I grew up in this environment and I never really have seen the world or seen the struggles of other people, it's going to affect your perception of what's really going out here in the world. And I think judges have to have a broad base of experiences so that they can actually do what they're supposed to. And I believe judges are here, obviously, to interpret and to enforce the law. But they have to understand the communities, they have to understand the underlying factors of the law so that they can be as fair and actually not create laws to punish, but create laws to enhance the whole global or the whole national welfare of our communities, our intertwined communities. So I'm glad that you've had those experiences.
Right. Well, if I could just say, in Israel particularly, in Scotland I mentioned the experience as well, but those kind of very strong animosities can occur between people of the same race but different religion. In Scotland, that's what generally it was, or just different political backgrounds. In Israel, I went to a school of 350 people from preschool up through 12th grade, and we had over 60 nationalities represented.
Wow.
And it was a very interesting experience because within the school, we actually got along very well with each other, and we were friends, and we looked past the differences but just outside the walls, you know, it was common. Like I saw car bombings. I saw like the effect of car bombings. You'd see, like I never actually saw one go off right in front of me, but like a couple blocks over, yes, and smoke could come up and you know what's happened. And you have a city there, an old city that's divided in 4 religious quarters, and people who are willing to do anything over, you know, up to kill somebody for differences in race, differences in politics, differences in religion, whatever it was. There was that extreme example outside our school walls, but within the school walls,
everything was okay.
We got along great. We played sports together. We did art projects together. We literally sang together, prayed together, literally, even though we had much different faiths and everything. So it was a great way to learn that. It was a hard way to learn it, but it was a lot of important life lessons for me at the same time.
Yeah, great. So we're gonna switch gears. You've been a practicing lawyer for how long?
I've been almost 15 years now. I'm in my 14th year. So
okay, tell us a little bit of what your practice entails. What do you do?
So I work at Hutchison and Steffen Law Firm. When I graduated from law school, I was able to get a federal court clerkship with the chief judge of the federal court here in Las Vegas. His name was Roger Hunt. After that, I came to this law firm where we're at today, Hutchison and Steffen, and we do at the firm we do everything, but my focus has been commercial litigation. So that's essentially businesses suing businesses on the higher end of the spectrum. When I say that, the money end. So that puts us into business court often and into Clark County District Court. I've done mostly that. I've also done a lot of constitutional issues around the state, and done a lot before the Ethics Commission, representing people from political parties of both sides of the political aisle. So those 3 things. Then after that, I do a pro bono service, which is, you know, helping. So for example, one of my pro bono clients is somebody who's been handicapped for a long time, can't walk, and gets discriminated against because of he has special needs when he goes into an apartment complex, for example. It needs to be ADA accessible. So apartment complexes sometimes don't like to make their places ADA acceptable or have a place available. So for him, I had to write letters, get apartment complexes to understand, no, this is their legal responsibility to have something for him. They couldn't discriminate against him because of that. Or another example is trying to get him transportation that he needs. Nevada has special paratransit transportation, and they come around and pick people up to get him to where he needs to go on a certain schedule, and got him qualified for that. So that's one example of kind of a pro bono case that's outside of the general realm of where I practice, but where I kind of help the community where I can.
Okay, great. So, do you think that's prepared you to be ready to be a judge?
Well, absolutely. I think it's a wide variety of practice. I've done several trials as well, and large evidentiary hearings as first chair. I've also got more experience than anybody else in my race. I was working on that other side. Like I said, I clerked for a judge for 2 years right after law school, and that's a significantly important experience, I think, to have, especially if you want to be a judge, because it's like people who haven't been in a clerkship, they've practiced law, but they don't know what it's like to be a judge. Right, so they've always advocated for one side or the other. They know the rules themselves, but they've never actually sat there and talked with a judge behind closed doors and chambers, like, what's going on? What do you think of this? How do you weigh these 2 different options? And I've done that with the judge I clerked for, and plus I interned for 2 other federal judges before I started practicing. Kind of the significance of that as well is Nevada just recently this year, just in the recent past, adopted the federal rules of civil procedure in most part. So we had the state rules, and what we've done is we've adopted the federal rules to practice law to give us a broader base of case law to know how to interpret the rules, how to act, and to provide some uniformity for practitioners around the state and country.
Okay, so that brings us to you're running for Department 21. A lot of the folks out here, we hear all these departments, A through E,
right.
Department 1 through 30. And as I said, there are over 100 candidates running. Can you give us a little overview, just kind of break down on how this whole department thing works, and a little bit even on what does Department 21 actually focus on?
Sure. So I get that question a lot as well. It's a great question. What you're going to see is there's different names for different departments. Department 21 is a numbered department. So what we do is we handle civil criminal matters, and that is a countywide election. Oftentimes people wonder if it's like they're part of Henderson or some part of Northwest Las Vegas. That's not the case. District court judges represent the entire county. So if you're in Clark County, Nevada, you'll be able to vote for me or any judge who has a department 1 through 32. The next set of departments is the family court. They have department A through Z. So if you got a department A, that's a family court judge, and they only do family law. Then justice court judges also have numbers, I believe, but those are just citywide. So like Belinda Harris, for example, is a friend. She's running for justice court in North Las Vegas. Only the people in North Las Vegas are going to be able to vote for her. People in Henderson are going to vote for an entirely different group of justice court judges, but all of those will vote for the Clark County judges, which is what I'm running for. So as to what we do, Department 21 will be a civil criminal docket. We don't know exactly what it will be until after the election. What happens is the chief judge, who right now is Judge Bell, she will see kind of her talent pool that's been elected and make the assignments off of that. But the different groups you have is there's criminal cases, there's civil cases, and the civil cases break out into probate cases. They can be business court cases, personal injury type of things. There's a lot of different groupings within the civil context that the judge can assign you to. So I can't say definitively what I'd be doing, because I could have a split civil and criminal docket. If you're not in the RJC, which is the Regional Justice Center, you can't have a criminal docket because there's some courts that are in the building next door. It's called the Phoenix building. And if you're in that building, they don't have the security measures to bring in inmates. So you can't have a criminal docket. And so if you're over there, you might be just business court or just personal injury cases, something like that. So it's basically, I hope that gives you kind of the general concept of what we're doing over there, but I won't know exactly what I'll be doing until after the election.
Okay, great. Well, obviously, this is the Independent Black Voters Speak, and the issues we're looking for is to, number one, educate our people on what the different judicial courts do, but also who the people are. And so one of my questions I'm going to ask you from the perspective of my community, the black community, why should we consider you? Why should you be a candidate that our community would want to vote for?
Oh, well, I think that's a great question. The one thing I think out of the gates is I think the community wants to have someone who's competent, right? Every community wants to have someone smart on there, and I believe that I first meet that bill. I am qualified to do this job. I'm the only AV rated attorney. That means that they survey 30 attorneys who aren't in your law firm to get that rating. And I think that's important, to be competent. That's the highest rating you can get as an attorney. I'm the only attorney in my race with the rating. I've also got another thing that's important beyond competence, and that is, who do I represent? Well, some people are nervous when they come into court. It's like, oh, this guy is this party or that party. I'm the only person in my race with substantial bipartisan support. So I've got former governors on both sides, Republican and Democrat, who have endorsed me, former U.S. senators on both sides, Republican and Democrat, who endorsed me, county commissioners both sides. It goes down the list. mayors, people who have endorsed me from both sides. And I think that speaks to me as a person who's able to see both sides of an issue. Specifically in this community, I've talked to you, I've talked to other people. I feel like it's important to be accessible, and that's one of my goals as a judge would be to be accessible. I've already started meeting regularly with leaders in the Black community. My hope is that they would want me to continue to meet with them afterwards. Let me tell you the reason that's important is a judge can't know everybody, mm-hmm. right? There's 2 million people over 2 million people in Clark County, Nevada, but my jurisdiction would be in the entire Clark County, Nevada. Mm-hmm. So, but how do I represent people? So, for example, when I was clerking, it was common for either in a civil or criminal case, you can have people who know somebody who's involved. Very common in a criminal matter, for example. If someone comes before you, you have certain options of sentencing guidelines or the negotiations between the district attorney and the public defender. How can a judge weigh in? If someone from the community that I trust, like for example, if you came in and you're like, Judge Reynolds, this is somebody I know. I know this family. It's a good family. Or I know this person. He's a solid worker. He can't be in jail. We don't want this cash bail problem that frequently is a problem in minority communities. This person needs to get back to work so they can continue to provide for their family. It really helps if there's connections already in the community to have someone that I trust come into court and stand up for somebody. Mm-hmm. And that enables me to have a much broader perspective on what we're going to do with this person, right? After a prosecution's complete. That's kind of the quintessential example of when that becomes useful. But also it becomes useful just, I think, for education purposes. Currently, I do a lot with Brenda Flank. I don't know if you know her, but she does a lot with schools in the central and eastern Las Vegas community. Mm-hmm. I go in with her to educate 5th graders on the Constitution, for example. And afterwards, I get kids like 5th graders coming up and asking for my autograph. It's amazing. So it's kind of funny. You never think that people want your autograph as an attorney, but these 5th graders love it. Yep. You know, and they just feel like you can tell they're excited that somebody who is an attorney and has a professional job has come to their school and taught them something. And you know, they write me thank you letters after. It's been really touching to see how much it means to them in their community. So I believe it's important to always be accessible, and I believe at least in my experience, I've been making myself accessible to the communities in Las Vegas as more than anybody else.
Great. Like I said, we met at the Shepherd's Breakfast, and that's a good start because it is one of the places in the community. Just as I live in Henderson, and one of the things we want to do is reach out, not just in one area, but we want to Clark County wide and get you to know our community because we are Clark County wide. Mm-hmm. We will hold you to that commitment. Accessibility is important. The ability to have judges that listen, that are concerned about the community is one of our key issues here. Mm-hmm. And that's why we do the Independent Black Voters Speak, our Know Your Candidates. We will continue to go down and let you know candidates there, and you can make a choice, make an educated choice. I've spent some time vetting, I've spent some time talking to Jacob, and we're committed to get out and give you an opportunity to even talk more and find out what our communities are. So this is the Independent Black Voters Speak. We are vetting and talking to Jacob Reynolds. He is running. Tell him again, where are you running from?
District Court, Department 21. It's a countywide election. I'm very grateful for you for interviewing me. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, the Independent Black Voters Speak on Facebook and Black Book TV. Folks, we are here to inform, educate, and entertain our community. The future is now. Thank you.